you. We're honored to have you here, Mr. Lender King. Welcome to Michigan.
Thank you.
We know it's been a busy time for you the last couple of days. And the Yemeni American community is praying and hoping that the conflict in Yemen would end soon. And we have high hopes for you to accomplish your goals. And hopefully this conflict will come to an end. It's affecting all of us in the community, and as well as people in Yemen. So we're going to have a roundtable group discussion, very informal. A few questions we're going to ask you. So our first question is, since you've been appointed, what is your priority and what have you accomplished since your appointment?
First of all, thank you all very much for the opportunity to talk about Yemen. It's an issue, it's a cause that we feel very deeply and that we truly, genuinely care about. I've heard so much strong emotion and passion about Yemen in the last 2 days. It's been a very inspiring visit to Michigan. So I thank you for the opportunity to talk more. I think the main thing that we're doing with the President's backing and the Secretary of State and the U.S. administration is creating a sense that peace in Yemen is possible.
Great. And how would you describe the accomplishment so far?
I think, first of all, I mentioned creating a sense of possibility that has not existed during the war. I think is number one. I think there's an international consensus about the urgency of ending the war that did not exist before January. I think the Yemeni people felt it, but I think with all the other problems going on in the world, there was a lot of focus on other issues, whether it's problems in the region, whether it's COVID, whether it's climate change. So the president making an announcement in February and saying Yemen is a priority for the United States, I think is a big deal.
Ollie?
Yep. Going into the role of the U.S., this is a sensitive question, and people are asking it, and is America, the U.S., part of the conflict in which is aiding what we call the Saudi Arabia and that side being the backing of Saudi Arabia, or does the U.S. has its own independent interests that it's managing the conflict within those boundaries of the U.S. interest versus other partners' interests?
We have our own interests in Yemen. We're not here to represent any other party. We don't represent the UN. We don't represent the Saudis or the Saudi-led coalition. We don't represent parties inside Yemen. What we're trying to do, I think, is bring the influence that we have, and I think it's considerable. And I think you'll see more pressure exerted by us on the parties going forward. And it will drive an international resolution of the conflict. At the end of the day, I think the only way you get Yemen out of this, not only out of the war, but out of this pattern of war every few years, is by driving a negotiated settlement. That will be done by by Yemenis themselves. It would include the Houthis at the table, but also other groups.
Help us understand a little bit about how the U.S. views the conflict. Is Yemen a proxy war between regional players, kind of in the case of Somalia or Afghanistan?
I think one of the problems that has arisen is that the more the conflict goes on, the more tempting it is for outsiders to get involved, to support one faction or another. The Secretary said very early on, Secretary Blinken, probably in February, we need to get the outside forces outside of Yemen, the outsiders, the outside actors. That doesn't mean we don't welcome generous humanitarian pledges. Qatar made a pledge of $100 billion a few weeks ago. I mentioned ours. I think there's going to be more. There'll be a pledging conference coming up in New York at the end of September. We need everybody to come forward. But our interests really have to do with ensuring that al-Qaeda does not regain a foothold inside Yemen, does not expand its presence, that the fact that there is a civil war going on there is not exacerbated or extended by the role that outsiders are playing. I could also mention the very negative role that Iran plays in the conflict. This is a great opportunity for Iran to show a new face to the region, to the world, by engaging in a constructive way in Yemen rather than fueling the conflict.
Jamal?
Thank you, Mr. Thank you for your time. And my question is going to be about the assistant, the U.S. assistant for the Yemen. How's the war, 7 years of the war, affect about the assistant, and what kind of assistance do you give to the Yemen right now? And if it's only go to the legitimate government, or they go with by the other non-profit organization which work under the Houthi militia?
The United States, since the conflict began, is the largest single donor to Yemen. We've given more than $3.6 billion. As an American, I'm very proud of the fact that we are providing this level of assistance to Yemen. There are others who have been generous over time. One of the challenges that we find is that countries come forward and make pledges for humanitarian assistance, they don't fill them. And so the UN is in constant need of support, financial support, to carry out the many programs that it does that really make a difference inside Yemen. They are feeding people who would otherwise starve.
In relation to your visit to Michigan, what can the Yemeni American community play a role? And obviously, like I said earlier, we are very much affected. We have loved ones there. We have a vital interest. How can we, as a community, help or assist? Or what's your expectation?
Well, as I mentioned, I've had 2 days of really fascinating and very passionate conversations about this very issue. What can the diaspora community do? I'm very grateful for all the people who have helped organize events that have brought Yemeni Americans into our contact. We've talked to business owners inside Detroit and Dearborn, Hamtramck. We've played sports together. We've seen the power of sports as a way of mentoring, providing discipline to youth. We're saddened that it's hard for Yemeni kids to play soccer because of the war that's going on.
Going on into the role of the U.S. with Yemen. So ultimately, we as Yemenis view ourselves as an independent state regardless of the nature of the conflicts. So looking at U.S. as our second home, where are relations heading in the next 5 years? How do we view that? Is it status quo as is today, or where is it changing?
We'd like nothing more than for Yemen to be back on its feet as a fully functioning part of the Arabian Peninsula, and a source of stability for its region. We want to get our embassy back in Sana'a. We haven't had an ambassador and diplomats in Sana'a in years. We want to be there. We want to reopen our embassy there. We want to have a normal diplomatic relationship with Yemen, work on all those things that we work with other countries on, people-to-people programs, economic support, commercial support, defense relations, security. Many of my colleagues have served in Yemen. I've been to Yemen also, but many of my colleagues have served in Yemen in better times. Fantastic country, deep in heritage, many important religious sites, a land of physical beauty. I mean, there's so much that Yemen has to offer, and I think the world will come to appreciate that and will not associate Yemen with war.
Is there one last statement you want to say or extend to the community? I know we only have limited time. They're telling me our time's up, so I'm going to leave it to you for a closing statement.
Just to say how much I appreciate being here and the hospitality. Again, the sense of passion and commitment that we've heard from people in this town, and very useful suggestions about what we can do to work together. I think that is that's a revelation. Also, just the amount of, as I said, loyalty I think that people feel toward Yemen and the United States. This is a powerful combination.
Well, we appreciate it, and we hope, we wish you the best in your endeavor. And thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll continue this dialogue in the coming months.
I look forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.